Hello, beautiful people. It's Indaruma. Welcome to the channel. Today we're back again with another video. This is from the channel Pierce Morgan Uncensored, and we have Brett Cooper on Pierce Morgan. She's gonna be sharing quite interesting things about Justin Bieber and Blake Lively. I mean, it's quite a long time we actually talked about Blake Lively or heard things about Blake Lively. So we're gonna check this together, and I would love your thoughts and your contribution in the comments below. Let's dive right in.
Justin Bieber has long been plagued by rumours that he was exploited by Diddy, which many social media sleuths have connected to his recent troubling public appearances. This was an appearance on Jimmy Kimmel's show in 2011.
He knows better than to be talking about the things that he does with Big Brother Puff on national television.
And this clip of Diddy appearing to pat him down as if searching for a secret recording device. Well, now Justin Bieber has quashed these claims and rumours, releasing a statement which said Justin is not among Sean Combs' victims. There are individuals who were genuinely harmed by him, shifting focus away from this reality to track some of the justice these victims rightfully deserve. Well, the pop superstar is concerned his many fans with some alarming public appearances recently. According to TMZ, he was forced to sell his music catalogue after blowing his entire fortune. Well, Brett Cooper, host of The Brett Cooper Show, has followed Bieber's travails closely for her take on this and more. She makes her debut on Uncensored. Brett, how lovely to have you.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, first of all, let's discuss the Brett Cooper phenomenon. Never mind Justin Bieber. You've kind of exploded this year. Why?
Oh, gosh. I think people really look for humor and they look for common sense in a very, very chaotic, insane world. And that's what I've hopefully been able to provide for the last couple of years. And I went out on my own starting in January of this year, and we launched the Brett Cooper Show, and we're doing a couple episodes a week, and we're touching on politics and culture and finding sense in all of it. And I'm so grateful to be here.
Well, yeah, I went off on my own in January. So I've been following your development with great interest, and you've been highly successful. One of the things you've done a lot on is Justin Bieber. I bumped into Bieber over the years. I met him at an Oscars party when he was still very young teenager. I remember him being incredibly polite, called me Mr.
Yes.
Morgan, shook me firmly by the hand, looked me in the eye. I remember thinking, you're a well-brought-up young man. And then one of my sons bumped into him recently in Los Angeles at a gym, and he just looked slightly out of it. There were paparazzi, obviously, everywhere, as there always are with him. He didn't look a happy guy. He looked like someone with the weight of the world upon him. Now, many people have assumed that this has all been to do with what's going on with Sean Combs, Diddy, but that has now been put to bed by Bieber himself. So it does prompt the question, what is causing, do you think, all the issues that Bieber's having?
I mean, it goes so much deeper than just Diddy. And I think obviously that is a weight on him because he has now been involved in this. People have been speculating for months, if not years, about that. So I know that has been heavy for him to handle. But I have spent the last month or so getting to know people that are close to Justin. And interestingly, we've had, similar to you, our lives have kind of been interwoven. Like, I was a theater kid when I was younger. And so my voice teacher was at the same studio where he took lessons back in Atlanta when he was a teenager. And so I've just been around him and people that have been close to him for years and years and years up until this point. And in the conversations that I've been having recently, there's just so much that has been going on behind the scenes that people are just now learning about, most notably due to his break with his longtime manager, Scooter Braun, who he unfollowed at the beginning of this year, who we know, thanks to the press, that he has been in a legal battle with for multiple years to try to get out of the contract that he signed when he was 13 years old. And so we're watching a man fight behind the scenes for his freedom. And I can tell you, based on the people that I've talked to and the things that I know now, that this is not just a normal legal battle. This has been going on for a long time. It is very multifaceted. It is taking a major toll on his life, on his family, on his soul, on his creativity. It is impacting every single aspect of his business and what he is actually able to do. And then on top of that, he is being absolutely hounded by the paparazzi. And Pierce, I think you know this, but the paparazzi is not what it was in the early 2000s. This is not, Britney Spears era paparazzi. And it's insane to see these, throngs of people surrounding him no matter where he goes. And so you see him lashing out and saying, just leave me alone. It's like, obviously, and understanding the context of that, it makes complete sense that we're seeing somebody who is struggling because he's fighting with every fiber of his being to protect his family and protect his work and his future career.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to...
Absolutely true. It looks like somebody who is dealing with a lot, and that's the more reason why when lots of people are projecting to or saying that he's having issues with his wife, his family, and whatnot. It may be not even be in relation to that. It's a lot deeper than we thought. But obviously, lots of things happening behind the scenes. Now, this is the more reason why majority of the time people have to be careful of the kind of contracts they sign, they get in, especially when you're desperate or you're broke. Because sometimes it is hard, it is difficult, and most especially this is Hollywood. And there are people that just want to control everything you do. And him so far, he looks like a mess. It looks like a mess. And I just honestly feel sad for him. Truly, I feel sad for him, and honestly, we just need to start praying for him because he's young. I mean, the Justin Bieber we know when he first got into the industry is not the exact same. I mean, people evolve and grow, but now he's a freaking mess. And yeah, sometimes like with the way paparazzi are always on your face and all that as a celebrity, like can't they just have a moment to breathe for a moment? I mean, but yeah,
Sean, I had a few run-ins with him. I mean, he's a monumental douchebag of biblical proportions, from my experience. So it doesn't surprise me at all that he's trying to, screw Justin in terms of this contract situation. But is it just that, or I mean, famously, Justin's had a lot of issues with his family, and people have come in and out of the family and so on. How much of that has played a role? And how much is it just the fact that when you're a superstar at his young age, as he was on that level, a sort of stratospheric, one of the top 5 most famous people on earth at one stage, how easy is it to migrate to just normal adult life anyway? Never mind anything else.
it's not easy.
I think it's so complicated. And we've watched this time and time again with so many young people. I mean, we just saw Demi Lovato go through it. She was somebody who worked with Scooter Braun for years and years and years, and they had a falling out and got back together, all of this different stuff. I mean, we've seen it with so many child stars, and there's very, very few of them who reached any level of fame that is close to Justin's that I think made it out unscathed. And I think that that is what he is fighting to protect now that he is a father. And I think it's, one thing that people should know is that he is now surrounded by a great community, a great, group of friends, a great work community, people that he trusts for the first time in years. Because for the majority of his career, everything surrounded Scooter Braun. Because Scooter was not only his manager, but he also owned the label where Justin was signed. He was also a board member on Justin's clothing company. Every single thing went through Scooter, but he reported to Scooter. And so for the first time, literally since the beginning of his career, Justin actually has a say in who he's bringing on, and he's able to trust them and know that they actually have his best interests at heart. So I think that is a huge transformation. So we're also seeing this man who for the first time in his life has real autonomy over his work and over his creativity. And I think that's exciting for him, but it's also being hindered by the fact that he is still, involved in these legal battles, which are obviously being reported day in and day out.
It's interesting. I was a biographer for a British band called Take That, who were the British response to New Kids on the Block, when New Kids on the Block became this teenage sensation around the world. And I covered them as well. But I remember following what happened with the Take That guys. They were huge pretty much everywhere apart from America. And then one of their group, Robbie Williams, broke free. There's just been a big movie about him and his life that he's been involved with. And I look at what happened to him. I look at what happened to Liam Payne from One Direction, again, a band that I knew quite well. I look at what happened with Michael Jackson, to Justin Bieber, to Britney Spears. There's a whole litany of people who become incredibly famous and, of course, very rich and successful, and famous being the worst drug of all, from my estimation, for some of these people. And then they just really fall apart when they become adults. And, partly it can be self-inflicted, drugs and alcohol and all the normal vices that go with great wealth and fame when you're young because you want to go partying. But partly it's often the people around them, who are manipulating them and driving them too hard and don't really care enough about them. As Candace Owens called Hollywood satanic in the way that it gets its grip on young people. How would you categorize it?
I think she hit the nail on the head there, but it's all exploitation on every single level. And I think one thing that I've experienced, and you might have also experienced, Pierce, that, people can imagine on a much broader scale, is that it's very weird when, you're a human being, you're an individual, you are somebody that your spouse knows, that your parents know, but you are also a brand that people work for. And that is a very, very odd thing just in terms of, psychology and being a human being to wrap your brain around. And so to imagine that on a scale of a Liam Payne or a Michael Jackson or a Justin Bieber, where you have all these people working for you, but it almost, it can easily be, swapped and manipulated to be at your expense because they kind of forget that there's a human being at the core of this, and you become a workhorse and your feelings and your health is not taken into account. And I think we've seen this time and time again, like you've said, and I think it's very easy to fall into those traps, especially when you don't trust people around you. And something that has been so interesting to me as I've been diving into this whole Justin Bieber story is that there is a through line here with him, and that is the business manager, Lou Taylor, who worked with him for not very long, but was brought in after he had fired a bunch of people. That is the same Lou Taylor that worked with Britney Spears for years that allegedly got her into the conservatorship. She is the one that Britney wrote about in her book. She is the same Lou Taylor that Lindsay Lohan's family alleged was the one that was trying to get Lindsay Lohan into a conservatorship. I mean, she is linked to all of these celebrities who have had massive downfalls and massive spirals. And you can just see that there are people who manipulate their, place in this industry and their role in a figure's life, where a business manager has so much control. They see every single dollar that comes in and out. They tell you what your budget is, what you can be spending. They move on. I mean, if you don't have control over that, if you don't trust that, and then if they're getting involved in your personal life with a conservatorship, if they're working with your family, I mean, things can absolutely spiral. And I think that that is what Justin is basically just trying to, push back against at every single turn, because he's seen it happen so many times, and he's trying to protect Haley and protect their son as much as he can. And it's just so awful. And I hope he's able to come back from this.
Obviously, true, because it's reading or is giving exploitation, because obviously these people got into the industry very young and they are at the peak of their career, so obviously they may not be paying attention to some things. That's why sometimes, like, their public life and their private life, sometimes they don't know how to differentiate it, and it's really really hard to differentiate. But still, at the end of the day, they are human beings. But the fact that Hollywood deem it okay, like, we're just gonna say it, the entire Hollywood itself needs cleansing. That's just the truth, because time and time again, it's just gonna be continuous repetitive action towards celebrities or people. And at what point will people say no? Or when will people finally have the guts to say no? Okay, now they're not gonna let this happen again. Because how do you even say no to powerful people or people who is tr- trying to control you?
You heard from him. I mean, you must be aware of you out there talking about him a lot and how influential you now are. Has he picked the phone up and said, "Hey, Brett, remember me from the old vocal studio when we were kids?"
I haven't spoken to him directly, but I have become very acquainted with many people close to him. And what I know from them is that obviously this is a very hard time, and everything that he is going through is weighing on him deeply. He's really excited about his new clothing company, Skylark, which he just released and debuted very recently, just a couple of weeks ago. So he finally has something creatively that he can pour his heart into. I know he's working on trying to make new music, which obviously is caught up in these contract negotiations, but he is doing everything he can to protect himself, to protect his peace, to protect his faith. And I think that it's an uphill battle for sure. And he has a great support system. There's so many media attacks, even just on his marriage and with Haley. And you see all the things come out about, Selena versus Haley, which I look at all of those stories and I just laugh, because it almost seems like both women have just kind of tried to, push back against those and say, we don't even want to be involved in these fights. And I think they go after her because they know that will impact him more than anything, because it's the love of his life. It's his wife. It's the mother of his child. And if now she is in harm's way, that's going to impact him even more. So he's facing a lot. I know he's grateful for the support. He's grateful for people, saying free Justin and being on his side and being excited about his new endeavors. So I know that he's watching and he's listening and he's very grateful.
He's probably watching this, in which case, Justin, you know what you should do? You should do a big interview on Uncensored. Get it all off your chest. Better out than in, as my mother would always say. An interesting coincidence was that you said, I think recently, that there was a malevolent kind of PR PSYOP campaign waged against him by a PR company that represents Scooter Braun, surprise, surprise. And in the you can't make this up coincidence category, the same PR company, you've said, also represents Blake Lively in her battle against Justin Baldoni. Now, that case I find utterly riveting for its sheer apparent futility and self-harm that is going on. Because the more it seems to me that Blake Lively, I don't know her at all, I don't know any of them actually. Initially I was very sympathetic to her and I saw the first allegations made or whatever. As it's gone on, I'm just like, someone at some stage needs to explain to both Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, this is not working out very well.
At all.
They're not winning the court of public opinion. And however much they think they're going to claw it back when all the dirty laundry gets aired, I just think it's a real lose-lose for them. And I don't really understand why, at the top of their game, the pair of them, they want to risk everything for this.
It makes no sense. It makes no sense. And I completely agree. I think that they have lost the court of public opinion. And I'm sure that they look at that and are angry and they want this to be, decided in the courts and they're going to figure all this out. But I have no sympathy because they're the ones who brought it publicly first. They're the ones who went to the New York Times. They made this a public spectacle. So if you don't want this to be a public spectacle, and I've, read different responses from their attorneys, different, statements that they've given where they basically try to walk all that back and say, Brian Friedman, who is Justin Baldoni's lawyer, like he's making this into a PR thing. He's trying to get people riled up. You started that. You're the one who put it in the New York Times, so you don't get to sit here and say, oh, I don't want people in my business. I don't want them to know this. You're taking it too far. You started this war. You put it in the largest newspaper on earth, basically, and we're running with it. And obviously, Justin is going to fight back. He's going to slap you with that, $400 million defamation suit, because if what you're saying is not accurate, then that is what it is. Then it is defamation, and he has a right to fight back. And every single thing that comes out is just digging a hole deeper and deeper for them. And so I completely agree. Whoever was giving them advice, it was terrible. If it's the same PR company that is locked up with Scooter, it is crazy.
Absolutely. I'm glad somebody finally said it, because it seems like people, like, These couples did not actually expect Justin Baldoni to fight back, or to defend his name, because I mean we've said this over and over again, times without numbers. I've actually not followed up with some of the recent development, but it's pretty wild, but interesting, by the way. And I just think that these couples, they just don't want to believe that their version of event wasn't true. Like, they are trying to make it sound believable. And the question here is, do they even believe that is real? Do they even believe all what they are saying? Because explain to me, what the heck is going on? Who is advising these people and who is telling them to push harder? Who? But again, yeah, talk about Justin Bieber. I with the news headlines making waves to say, oh, he's about to divorce his wife and what. I just be like, those are just mere rumors. Even if him and his wife are having issues or whatsoever, there is no marriage that don't have issues. Some couples go through, depending on their marital or marriage or relationship dynamics, some couples could go through different phase of life and they settle it. But people don't believe that couples can fight and settle. It doesn't even make any sense. People believe that, oh, if you and your husband or your partner are having issues, then automatically it should lead to separation or divorce. It doesn't work like that. People go through phases or series of life, and people can have differences or disagreement, disagreement or arguments, and settle and come back together. That's the difference between relationship, marriage, good partnership, over just some swinging, whatever you name it. But obviously, I just wish him to be the best and pray that he finally gets freed, or is free from this old ship, whatever the case may be.
But you touched on something which I thought was really interesting. That a lot of women these days are on OnlyFans and they're making millions of dollars, millions of pounds. And they're basically just selling themselves as women having sex with 100 men, 1,000 men, whatever it is, their feet fetishes, there's this, that, the other. It's become a kind of licensed porn site, really, in many ways. What is it? They would say, well, I'm allowed to do what I want with my body. Of course they are, right? Anyone can do what they want with their body. Doesn't mean that we can't be slightly judgmental about the way some of them go about it. Is it dispiriting to you to see so many young people of your age, women, who go down that road when they obviously, some of them are very smart business brains. They could apply that, I would argue, in a more worthwhile and less tawdry manner.
Oh, for sure. It is demoralizing. And I think the most demoralizing part of it is that they think that there are no other options. The most recent episode that I did about this was when I was talking about Denise Richards and Charlie Sheen's daughter, who started an OnlyFans on her 18th birthday. And I think it was less than 2 months later, Denise said, well, I want to be a part of this. And so Denise Richards then put herself on OnlyFans. You have this mother-daughter OnlyFans duo, which is just truly insane. But their daughter, whose name is Sammy Sheen, she did an interview for their reality show, and she said, well, I wanted to move out, and I was working at a candy store, and I just wasn't making enough money, so this seemed like the next best option. It's like there's nothing in between working a summer job at a candy store or starting an OnlyFans. And I think we've had this warped perception that has been given to young people, to young women. It's like, hey, this is an easy way out. Just go make millions. But here's the thing is, only 1% of creators on OnlyFans are actually making millions and millions of dollars. The women are not making much money. And so they're selling their bodies online. They are giving ownership of their bodies to OnlyFans because that is how the platform works. They, own your content. You're putting that out there forever. And you're calling that liberation, and you're saying, well, maybe I have a shot at being that 1% and making millions and millions and millions, but really it's just demoralizing, and you're selling yourself truly. And I also look at it from the men's perspective, where it's like you are also taking advantage of the men who are subscribing to you, because you know that this is a vice of theirs and you're feeding into it for your own financial gain. And so I think on both sides, the consumption and the creation, it is just so detrimental to our society. And it's so unfortunate that we have told young people that it is completely appropriate.
And finally,
I'm glad somebody actually said this, because it seems like when people talk about this, people be like, oh, you're too judgmental or whatever. But no, you're not. I don't get it why people be like, oh, that's the only option. Like, I've asked this question times without numbers. Like, that is not the only option. We get it. Like, it's so common now. Like, it's almost rare to find ladies who are younger, Gen Zs most especially, not having OnlyFans or don't have OnlyFans. Like, what the heck is going on?
You're pregnant.
I am, yes.
This is very exciting.
Yes, thank you. We're very, very excited.
So I hear you're going to call the baby Piers, whether it's a boy or girl.
Exactly. Yes. Great job.
But in all seriousness, I mean, at the moment, your career is completely exploding and getting more and more popular. Have you worked out how you're going to do the whole, work life thing when it happens?
I think that that's something that will take day by day, but that was a big factor in me changing the way that I do my work. Because prior to going out on my own, I was doing 2 episodes a day. So I was doing 10 episodes a week, chasing the daily news cycle, which I loved. And there's part of me that does miss that and misses the high of that and how punchy and fun the content was. And I know that there are many people in my audience and people who watch my content that do miss the fact that it's like, oh, every day she was on top of the news and she got to it before everybody else. It was so great. We missed that. And I definitely understand that. But that was a very intentional choice that I made of saying, I'm going to scale back to doing 2 episodes a week and they'll be longer form, which is something that I'd wanted to do for a while. And I'll be able to have total control over what I am doing and what I'm saying, which is what I had wanted, and to be able to build out the team myself. But that also gives me my personal life back in a really meaningful way. And I think right now, and when we were starting in January, that felt less necessary, but I already knew that I was pregnant at that time. So I was thinking ahead going, this is why I'm doing this. I am, taking a stand and I'm saying, I'm not going to overextend myself because I know the type of mom that I want to be. My mom is my hero. I adore her. She was a stay-at-home mom. For the most part, she had different jobs that she did throughout us being raised, and would, write for the local newspaper and worked on many different nonprofits, and always had things going on in her life, but they enriched her life, but we were always the center. And I want to make sure that I offer that to my children. And so that was a big decision in saying, we're going to completely change the way that we're doing things because this is what I want to be the priority. And I love what I do. I love what I get to do. And I want to be able to continue that and grow it. But that was the line that I drew in the sand of making sure that I took my life back in that regard.
I think that's a very sensible line to draw in the sand.
Thank you.
It's been great talking to you, Brett Cooper. Finally, thank you very much for coming on Uncensored. We will always have room for you if you get bored with the diaper changing. You know where to find me.
I love it. Thank you so much, Kirsten.
Beautiful. Because I'm so excited for our journey so far, because there is nothing like being independent, right? Because however or no matter how you want to look at it, having full autonomy or full control of your time, your content as a creative, and what to put out there, and to know that, okay, I want to be free to say what I want to say without being controlled, or without somebody telling me, don't say this, is going to offend some particular group of people. You know, that also building that sort of connection, building your own personal brand and whatnot. I'm just so happy for her. And I mean, her pregnancy and her marriage journey so far, beautiful, beautiful, regardless. But again, this journey, regardless of the case, people are going to make up or break up. And no matter how it is, people are not going to work for the same employer for a really long time, or for long, long time. Some people are going to outgrow some particular place that they found themselves in or find themselves in. And that is just what growth entails. But let me know what you think. Make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and all that stuff. And until next time, see you in the next video.